Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering draft video. It's Al here with you, and this is how to draft Secrets of Strixhaven, the latest set dropping tomorrow, Tuesday, on MTG Arena. So let's dive right into it. As always, please click like, click subscribe, leave a comment, ask a question, say hello. It helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate everyone who does so. Getting right into the pick order for the set, starting with our early picks. We're looking for commons and uncommons that excel in the following criteria. Flexibility, meaning how many decks does it fit into? Rate, what are you getting for the mana that you're spending? Power level, how powerful is the card? Curve, does it fit into the mana curve of your deck? So the cheaper it is, generally, the more easily it will fit into your mana curve. So we prioritize cheaper cards. And finally, synergy, does the card play well with the synergies and themes of the color pairs that it could potentially go into? Now, of course, you're going to be taking the rare most likely out of your pack when you first open it, but past that, we're going to be looking for cards like these ones. The premium removal is my benchmark for rating all the other cards in the set. These are efficient, easy to cast, and have very few or no conditions at all. Few non-rares will be picked ahead of cards like these. Stand Up for Yourself, 2 and a white instant, destroy a creature with power 3 or greater. Foolish Fate, 2 and a black instant, destroy a creature, and if you've gained life this turn, the creature's controller loses 3 life. Bitter Triumph off the bonus sheet, which there'll be 1 bonus sheet card per pack in this set. Bitter Triumph, 1 and a black instant as an additional cost, pay 3 life or discard a card, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Dismember, the classic, off the bonus sheet, 1 black, but you can pay 2 life instead of a black pip, so you could pay just a single mana and 4 life to cast this instant. Gives target creature -5/-5 until end of turn. Burst Lightning off the bonus sheet is a single red for an instant. Deals 2 damage to any target, but if you kick it for 4 extra mana, it deals 4 damage instead. Very efficient and goes to the face. We love that. Impractical Joke is a single red sorcery. It says damage can't be prevented this turn, and it deals 3 damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. I love that they're putting more planeswalker hate on removal these days, by the way. Next one is Knockout Maneuver. 2 and a green for a sorcery. Puts a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. Stress Dream is 3 blue-red for an instant. Deals 5 damage to a creature. Then you look at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand and the other on the bottom. Vibrant Outburst is red-blue for an instant. Deals 3 damage to any target and taps up to 1 target creature. Moving on to our premium rate cards. So these are not removal spells, but I would say they should be taken right around the level of those premium removal spells. So they might be a little bit better than those, a little bit worse than those, or kind of right on the money with those premium removal spells that we just looked at. Matterbending Mage, 2 and a blue for a 2/2. When it enters, you return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. And whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cost, this creature can't be blocked this turn. Stock Up off the bonus sheet, 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 5, put 2 into your hand and the rest on the bottom in any order. Royal Treatment off the bonus sheet, single green for an instant. Target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn, and it gets a royal roll attached to it, which gives it +1/+1 and ward 1. Environmental Scientist, maybe the best uncommon in the set. We'll see. 1 and a green for a 2/2. When it enters, you may search your library for a basic land, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Snarl Song is 5 and a green for a sorcery. It's got Converge. It says create 2 0/0 fractal creature tokens. Put X +1/+1 counters on each, and you gain X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell. So Converge always references the number of different colors of mana you spent on a spell. Generally speaking, you want to hit 4 or more in this set, but Snarl Song at 3 is still actually quite good. So this is just a really good card, and you should take it very highly. Paradox Surveyor is green, a green-blue hybrid, and a blue, 3 mana in total, for a 3/3 with reach. When it enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a land or a card with X in its mana cost and put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom. So this is really good early in the game to hit you land drops, and then late in the game, find a big spell and cast it. So this is never dead, and a 3-mana 3/3 reach is good rate to begin with. So this is one of the better uncommons in the set as well, I think. Essence Scholar is black, a black-green hybrid, and green, so total of 3 for a 3/1. Makes a 1/1 pest token. All the pest tokens are the same in the set. They're 1/1 black and green creatures that say whenever this token attacks, you gain 1 life. Essence Scholar also says at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, draw a card. So you're going to be attacking with your pests, and your opponent is not going to want to block them and give you free cards. It's a nice little package here for only 3 mana. Lewin Exchange Students, 2 black-green for a 3/4 legendary creature. It enters prepared. So prepared means that it can cast a copy of the spell in the lower right-hand corner of the card, which we're going to get to in a second. You can also re-prepare Lewin by exiling a creature card from your graveyard. The spell is called Pest Friend. It costs a black or green mana to cast. It's a sorcery, and it creates a 1/1 pest token. So a lot of value here. You can do it right away if you've got an extra mana when you cast Lewin, and then for each creature card in your graveyard, you can essentially pay a mana and make a 1/1 token. Very, very powerful in the late game, and also on curve. All right, let's move into the good removal. So this is a step below the premium stuff, but these are still cards you're going to take quite highly. Hopefully not first pick, but second, third, fourth, fifth, pretty likely, and then anywhere after that, you're quite excited about it. Essence Scatter is a single, 1 and a blue, I should say, for an instant counter target creature spell. Even though this is kind of a quote unquote spells set, it's still driven by creatures, and the creatures that have prepared spells on them are going to be really important to get rid of before they even hit the battlefield, and their controllers can activate them. Run Behind is 3 and a blue for an instant. It costs 1 less to cast if it targets an attacking creature. And that creature's owner puts it on top or bottom of their library, their choice. Last Gasp is 1 and a black for an instant. Target creature gets -3/-3. Nice and efficient. Instant speed. Love to see it. Wander Off is 3 and a black for an instant. Exile target creature. That's a common too. That's pretty nice. Artistic Process, 3 red for a sorcery. You can choose 1, deal 6 damage to target creature, 2 damage to each creature you don't control, or you make a 3/3 blue and red elemental creature token with flying, and it gains haste until end of turn. So while none of these are particularly great on rate, the flexibility here is quite nice, and it's a monocolored card, so we've got it in the good removal tier. Unsubtle Mockery is 2 and a red for an instant. Deals 4 damage to target creature and surveil 1. Pretty good rate on this one, and the surveil is going to be important if you're playing a Lorehold deck, which we're going to get into in a little bit. A Braid off the bonus sheet, 1 and a red for an instant. You choose, it deals 3 damage to target creature or destroy target artifact. Not too many artifacts to destroy in this set, but we'll take 2 mana, deal 3 at instant speed any day. And finally, Grapple with Death is 1 black-green for a sorcery, destroy target artifact or creature, and you gain 1 life. So quite efficient. Sorcery speed kind of hurts it, but the life gain is quite relevant in the set, so I think it's going to be up in the good removal tier. And I said finally, but I forgot about the charms. There's 3 charms that fit into this category for me. Prismari Charm is blue-red for an instant. You choose 1, surveil 2 and draw a card, or Prismari Charm deals 1 damage to each of 1 or 2 targets, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So the ultimate in flexibility, it's cheap. Pick them highly, play them. Quandrix Charm, green-blue for an instant. Choose 1. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2, which is going to be a little better than normal, I think, in this set. There's a lot of expensive cards running around and prepared spells that cost 5+ mana, so I think you're going to get good value off of that. Or you can destroy an enchantment, which won't come up very often, or you can make target creature have base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn, which should win a fair amount of combats. So nice flexibility here. Silverquill Charm is white-black for an instant. Choose 1. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Or Exile target creature with power 2 or less. That's power 2, not mana value. So you can nab some more expensive creatures with this cheap removal spell. And finally, you can have each opponent lose 3 life and you gain 3 life, which can win you the game sometimes. Now we'll look at the above rate cards. So these are taken around the level of the good removal spells that I just went through. So you might take these a little ahead of those, but probably not ahead of the premium removal spells that we looked at earlier, if that makes sense. Elite Interceptor, single white for a 1/2. It enters prepared, and it can cast the spell Rejoinder. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. 1 and a white for a sorcery. You may tap or untap target creature and draw a card. So Thraben Inspector, this is not quite, because it has to live for a while before you want to cast its spell, but the targeting matters, and it's a pretty good rate for the mana that you're paying. Primary research is 4 and a white for an enchantment. When it enters, return target non-land permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. At the beginning of your end step, if a card left your graveyard this turn, draw a card. So get something back right away, draw a card at the end of that turn, and then maybe you'll draw a couple more cards as the game goes on. Pretty good. Orisa Tide Choreographer is 4 and a blue for a 2/2. When it enters, you draw 2 cards, and it costs 3 less to cast if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, which might happen from time to time. Nice rate on this one. Flow State is 1 and a blue for a sorcery. You look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand and the rest on the bottom. If there's an instant and a sorcery in your graveyard instead, you get 2 cards into your hand instead of the 1. So this is pretty much just being rated on the first line of text. 2 mana, look at the top 3, take 1. I think is going to be good enough in this format, and a lot of stuff cares about you casting spells. Occasionally you're going to get that second ability and feel like a master of the game, but mostly just for the first bit there. Dissection Practice is single black for an instant, which has a lot of text on it here. Target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Up to 1 target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And up to 1 target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. It's like as if it were a charm and they just took all the dashes and the choosing out of it and just gave you everything. So I like this card quite a bit. It's got synergy with both of black's color pairs and is super cheap. Send in the Pest is 1 and a black for a sorcery. Each opponent discards a card. You make a 1/1 pest. Love me a Ravenous Rats any day of the week. Additive Evolution is 3 green for an enchantment. When it enters, you get a 0/0 green and blue fractal token with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and it gains vigilance until end of turn. So this is kind of a 5 mana 4/4 pretty much, which isn't great, but then it's got a lasting impact on the game after that, so I think it's pretty good. Studious First Year is a single green mana for a 1/1. It enters prepared and it can cast Rampant Growth. 1 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land, put it into play tapped. Thorn Fist Striker is 2 and a green for a 3/3 with Ward 1. It's got Infusion, which just refers to gaining life. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have Trample as long as you've gained life this turn. So super efficient, 3 mana 3/3, a little bit tricky to kill, and pumps up your team. Love it. Some multicolor cards here, which we'll get into more their archetypes in depth in a little bit, but I wanted to point out the ones that I think are the strongest amongst the multicolor cards. Killian's Confidence, white-black for a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Draw a card. And whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you may pay a white or a black mana. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. So repeatable targeting spell that draws cards. Pretty nice. Stirring Honormancer, 2 white, a white-black hybrid, and a black. So 5 total mana for a 4/5. When it enters, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures you control. Put 1 into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Scolding Administrator, white-black for a 2/2 menace. It's got Repartee, which is the Silverquill ability we'll check out in a little bit, which just refers to targeting creatures with spells. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When this dies, if it had counters on it, you can put them on another creature. Colossus of the Blood Age is 4 red-white for a 6/6. When it enters, it deals 3 damage to each opponent and you gain 3 life. When it dies, you discard any number of cards and then draw that many plus 1. So the minimum, you're just straight up drawing a card, and at the maximum, you're exchanging like some lands you don't need or whatever for a bunch of new cards. It's nice. Practiced Scrollsmith is red, a red-white hybrid, and white. 3 total mana for a 3/2 first strike. When it enters, exile target non-creature, non-land from your graveyard till the end of your next turn. You may cast that card. So a little bit of a Snapcaster Mage here, but it's a 3/2 first strike, which I dig quite a bit. First strike is an ability we don't see very much anymore in Limited because it's actually, secretly really powerful. So keep an eye out for this one. Startled Relic Sloth is 2 red-white for a 4/4 trample lifelink. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard, which matters, I promise. This is a good card. And finally, Cuboid Colony is green-blue for a 1/1 flash flying trample with increment. Increment means whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana you spent is greater than this creature's power or toughness, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So a 2 mana 1/1. If it comes down on turn 2, it's going to be a 4/4 in no time. And later in the game, it's not going to be that great, but if you play it on curve, you're going to be real happy. Alrighty, moving on to the archetypes. I'd like to give you my brief impressions of each of the 2 color archetypes in this format. We will be trying to end up in one of these by the end of the draft. As it was the last time around in Strixhaven, there are only 5 supported color pairs, and they are the enemy colors. But they each get 10 multicolor cards at common or uncommon, which is a ton. That's more than we've seen maybe ever, or certainly in a very long time in Limited. Most of the power in this set is concentrated in these multicolored cards, so finding the open archetype at the table will be heavily rewarded. Let's start with Black-White Silverquill Aggro. Their mechanic is Repartee. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature, you get a bonus. Note that this includes prepared spells, such as the one on Abigail Poet Laureate here, but it does not include activated abilities. So if a creature says, like, tap this to tap another creature or something, that would not count for Repartee. So the signpost on commons, there's going to be a lot of them here. We'll start with Abigail Poet Laureate, 1 white-black for a 2/3 flying. Whenever you cast a creature spell, Abigail becomes prepared, and the prepared spell is called Heroic Stanza. It's 1 and a white-black hybrid for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So already here we're seeing a repeatable way to target creatures with a sorcery spell. So that's going to trigger a bunch of Repartee stuff for you. Killian's Confidence, which we already looked at, the white-black sorcery, +1/+1 till end of turn, draw a card, and you can get it back. Scolding Administrator is white-black for a 2/2 menace. Repartee gets a +1/+1 counter, and when it dies, you can move its counters around. We did look at that one a bit earlier as well. Silverquill Charm, white-black. You get 2 counters, or exile a creature with power 2 or less, or drain them for 3. Snooping Page is 1 white-black for a 2/3. Has Repartee. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature, this creature can't be blocked this turn. And whenever it deals damage to a player, you draw a card and lose a life. So this seems like not a super high pick, but a card that could definitely get out of control pretty quickly with the unblockable status that it can gain, and of course drawing you extra cards. Stirring Honormancer. We already looked at this one as well. This is the 5 mana 4/5. When it enters, you look at the top X cards of your library for each creature you control and put 1 into your hand. At common, we've got Inkling Mascot, white-black for a 2/2. Repartee gains flying and you surveil 1. Imperious Ink Mage, 1 white-black for a 3/3 vigilance. When it enters, surveil 2. It's just a solid rate there. And Render Speechless, this is an interesting one. 2 white-black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land and they discard that card. And you put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. So you get your Repartee trigger, you get 2/2 of power on the board, and take the best card out of their hand for 4 mana. Interesting to see how good this one will be. I think it's going to be pretty cool. And of course, the Inkling Mascot that we just looked at, like 2 mana 2/2 that has flying most of the time and helps you dig through your deck is quite powerful. So liking what I'm seeing from Silverquill here. However, I will say With each of these archetypes, there are some cards to avoid. And in this case, Social Snub, 1 white black for a sorcery. When you cast this spell while you control a creature, you may copy this spell. And it says each player sacrifices a creature of their choice. Each opponent loses 1 life. You gain 1 life. Not really sure what this is doing in Silverquill. It's not really playing towards that aggressive game plan. If you have 2 creatures in play, you really don't want to play this. If you have no creatures in play, you're probably losing the game. So I don't really see it. So I would avoid Social Snub. So in Silverquill, we're looking at likely the most aggressive deck in the format. So we're looking for cheap threats with repartee triggers, such as Graduation Day, which is single mana enchantment that puts counters on your creatures. Pretty cool. Lecturing Scorn Mage, single black 1/1 that gets bigger. Melancholic Poet, 2 mana 2/2 that drains them every time you trigger repartee. So it's cheap stuff that can get in there, grow, deal damage over the course of the game. Repartee should happen naturally by playing removal spells or prepared spells, so try not to devote too many deck slots to cards just for the sake of targeting something. However, there are a few nice support pieces here in Cost of Brilliance. You draw 2 and lose 2 life and put a counter on something. Dissection Practice that we looked at before, and Elite Interceptor that we looked at before. These are nice support pieces for the repartee mechanic. Since we're going to be doling out a bunch of +1/+1 counters as part of trying to target stuff, creatures with good keywords go up in value. So Quillblade Laureate with Double Strike and Owlin Historian with Flying are both more valuable in this type of deck. And then you might occasionally want something like Dig Site Inventory, single white, put a counter on a creature, and you can flash it back. But again, don't devote too many slots to stuff like this because it's just not that good of a card on its own. All right, next we'll look at White-Red Lorehold Graveyard. Say that 10 times fast. The mechanic here is whenever a card leaves your graveyard, you get a bonus of some kind. Signpost uncommons here. Colossus of the Blood Age. We looked at earlier, 6 mana, 6/6. Drain them for 3. When it dies, you draw a card. You can discard stuff too if you want. Key Roll History Buff is a red-white for a 2/3. Says whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, Carol becomes prepared. You can cast Pack-a-Punch. 1 red-white for sorcery. You mill a card and put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. That creature gains trample until end of turn. So this is one of the rare instances of mill in the format. You will be looking for ways to put stuff in your graveyard. This guy does that for you. He's good rate. And if you can get him going, you'll be pretty happy about that. Molten Note, X red-white for a sorcery, deals damage to target creature equal to the amount of mana spent to cast this spell. So if you don't pay X at all, if you just pay red-white, you're dealing 2, and then every mana you spend after that is an extra damage. It also says untap all creatures you control, which I don't really understand what that's for, but I guess you could play it post-combat and have blockers up. And flashback for 8 mana, so it'll deal 8 damage if you can ever get that much mana. So solid removal spell. Practiced Scrollsmith is the 3 mana 3/2 first strike that brings something back from your graveyard, and Startled Relic Sloth is the 4 mana 4/4 trample lifelink that exiles something from a graveyard every combat. So you're going to get to trigger your stuff reliably every turn. You'll have to target your own graveyard to do that, of course. Or if your opponent's got flashback spells, you can nab those. And you get to do that kind of right away, and then once per turn after that. So nice consistent source of synergy there. And then like 4 mana 4/4 trample lifelink is a very, very big boy. So love to see that. At common, Spirit Mascot, red-white for a 2/2. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So it's going to sit around and do nothing for a good while, but I guess later in the game it can become like a 4/4 or whatever, and that'll be pretty exciting. Pursue the Past is red-white for a sorcery. You gain 2 life, and you may discard a card if you do draw 2 cards. And it has flashback for 2 red-white. So this is a good way to get cards into your graveyard, filter through your deck. Activating the flashback cost will trigger all your graveyard leaving stuff. So a nice little sort of glue piece here, but not a high pick. Wilt in the Heat is 2 red-white for an instant, deals 5 damage to target creature. If that creature would die, exile it instead. And the spell costs 2 less to cast if 1 or more cards left your graveyard this turn. So if you can get this to cost 2 mana, you're quite happy with that. Lorehold, Charm, and Borrowed Knowledge are my avoid cards for this color pair. Lorehold Charm is certainly playable-ish, but just a lot of the modes on here don't really make any sense with what the deck is trying to do. And then Borrowed Knowledge is just never a good card, and you should never play it. So don't even read it. Forget it exists. Don't pick it. Next, and we'll look at what to do actually with this deck. So Garrison Excavator and Living History are two of the more solid graveyard payoffs outside of the multicolor ones. Garrison Excavator making 2/2s, and Living History just being a 2-mana 2/2 that sort of gives you bonus later in the game. That's quite solid. You're going to be looking for ways to repeatedly trigger these payoffs. Stuff like Rubble Rouser, 3-mana 1/4. Rummages when you come in, so put something in your graveyard, and then you can exile cards from your graveyard to make mana and deal damage to the opponent. It's just a bunch of nice stuff right there for this deck. Ascendant Dust Speaker, which lets you exile a card from a graveyard each turn, and Summoned Dromedary, which is a 4-mana 4/3 Vigilance, which you can return from your graveyard to hand, so that can give you multiple triggers as well. Also, spells with flashback, so Group Project, 2 mana to make a 2/2 token, and then flash it back by tapping 3 untapped creatures you control. Nice way to trigger something leaving your graveyard, of course, or Tome Blast, 2 mana to deal 2, or flash it back for 5 mana. Nice ways to trigger those cards for you. Getting cards into your graveyard is actually probably going to be the trickiest part of building and playing a Lorehold deck. So anything that says Surveil on it, where you can actually put the top card of your library in your graveyard, anything that says Mill, or anything that lets you discard cards from your hand, are going to be pretty hard to find and pretty important, I think, for this deck. So get them where you can. Next deck is Blue-Red Prismari Spells. The mechanic is called Opus. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you get a bonus, and if you spend at least 5 mana to cast that spell, you get a different bonus or an additional bonus. Our signpost uncommons here, Abstract Paint Mage, is a blue-red hybrid, and a red for a 2/2. At the beginning of your first main phase, add blue-red. Spend it only to cast instant and sorcery spells. I don't like that this is a 3-mana 2/2, but getting that ramp could be pretty good if you have a lot of 5+ mana spells that you want to be casting. Prismari Charm that we looked at earlier, 2 mana, deal 1 to 2 different things, or Surveil 2, draw a card, or bounce something. Sonar Unfinished Genius, blue-red for an 0/4, enters prepared. You can tap him to create a treasure token, but only if you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. His spell is Wild Idea, 3 red and blue for a sorcery. Search your library for an instant or sorcery, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. I'm really not too sure about this guy. I mean, he blocks okay, but he doesn't threaten to like kill anything. 0 power is pretty rough. The treasures are nice, but I don't know, a little slow. The Wild Idea doesn't really do anything. It triggers Opus, I guess. Like, there's just not I don't know. This card could be really good or not that good. I'm not really sure. Spectacular Sky Whale is 2 blue-red for a 1/4 flying. It's got Opus. It gets +3/+0 until end of turn. Or if you spend 5 or more mana, it gets 3+1/+1 counters instead. So you're going to be attacking a lot of the time for 4 in the air. Pretty solid. But, I mean, if you can believe it, a 4-mana 4/4 flying isn't that good these days. So solid, but not amazing. And then you got Stress Dream, they have 5 mana, deal 5. Look at the top 2, take a card to your hand. And Vibrant Outburst, 2 mana, deal 3, tap a creature. Is just absolutely premium removal spells and pulls into this deck. At common, Elemental Mascot. This is a pretty nice one. 1 blue-red for a 1/4 flying vigilance. Opus gets +1/+0. And if 5 or more mana was spent, you exile the top card of your library, and you could play it until the end of your next turn, which means you can pass the turn back to your opponent, comes all the way back to you, and you could still play that card. And if it's a land, you can play it as well. So like giving you a lot here for 3 mana at common. This is going to be a linchpin of this deck. Stadium Tidal Mage, 2 blue-red for a 4/4. When it enters or attacks, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Just a nice 4-mana card right there. Visionary's Dance, 5 blue-red to make 2 3/3 blue and red elemental creatures with flying. Or you can pay 2 mana, discard this card, and look at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand, the other into your graveyard. So a nice big effect for 7 mana. It's going to trigger your Opus stuff, give you a couple creatures early in the game. It can help you find lands if that's what you need. I would avoid Rapturous Moment. This card looks really sweet, but I just don't think it's going to quite get there. This is 4 blue-red for sorcery, draw 3, discard 2, and then you add blue, red. It's kind of just like a bonus Opus trigger, I guess. But I think if you're really doing it and this card is working at its best, you're already probably winning the game. It's not card advantage, and there's a chance that you just like don't draw another useful card off of it, and it just does nothing for 6 mana. So I would avoid Rapturous Moment. So despite this mechanic of Opus sort of being more of a big mana thing, I think this deck is going to be a little bit more on the aggressive side. A lot of the cards seem to point to that. So Deluge, Virtuoso, Expressive Fire Dancer, and Tackle Artist are all like aggressively costed creatures that get bigger when you cast a cheap spell. And then if you cast a big spell, sure, they get an extra bonus. But like most of the time, you're just going to want to play these with smaller spells like Ancestral Anger, single red, draw a card, give a creature +1/+0 or more if you've got multiple of them. Monstrous Rage, single red, essentially +3/+1 trample. Goblin Glass Right, 2 mana 2/2, but it can make a treasure for a single red with its spell. All these things are going to play really well with the smaller sort of prowessy creatures, if you will. And I don't think you're going to really have to try to trigger the big side of the Opus mechanic, as the best expensive cards are already really good picks. Think about the 5 mana deal 5 or the 7 mana make 2/3/3 flyings. Like, you're not going to have to go out of your way to play some sort of janky 5 mana spell. And of course, your creatures, some of them already give you that with like prepared and stuff like that. So I would play this a little bit more on the aggressive side and let the big Opus stuff happen on its own. Next is Black-Green Witherbloom Life Gain. Signpost Uncommons, Teacher's Pest. I'll tell you the mechanic. It's life gain, of course. They call it infusion in this set, but it just means if you've gained life or if you gain life, you get something. Okay? So Signpost Uncommon, Teacher's Pest. Black-green for a 1/1 with Menace. Whenever it attacks, you gain 1 life. And you could pay black-green to return this creature from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Really hard to block. Comes back even if they do. It's going to gain you a steady stream of life to trigger all your stuff that cares about that. So it's a nice one. Witherbloom Charm is black-green for an instant. Choose 1. You may sacrifice a permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards. Or gain 5 life. Or destroy target non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. I think most of the time you're going to be choosing the first mode, sacking a token or something to draw a couple cards. But decent card anyway. Essence Knit Scholar that we looked at earlier. 3 mana, 3/1, makes a 1/1 pest, which whenever it attacks, you gain one life. And at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, you draw a card. Mind Roots, 1 black-green for a sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards. You put up to 1 land discarded this way onto the battlefield tapped under your control. That's pretty sweet. Usually Mind Rot, 3 mana discard 2, is not very good in limited, but pressuring them early with this and potentially ramping yourself or punishing them a little later in the game. Its lands are going to be relevant, I think, through the later turns of this in this format. It's pretty nice. I think this is a pretty good card. Lewin Exchange Student, one of the best cards in this deck, as we looked at earlier. 4 mana, 3/4. You can pay a mana to cast Pest Friend, make a 1/1 pest, and you can re-prepare by exiling creatures from your graveyard. Old Growth Educator is 2 black-green for a 4/4 Vigilance Reach. When it enters, it gets 2 +1/+1 counters if you gained life this turn. The reach on this is what pushes it over the edge for me, as this is really going to shut down a lot of what the aggressive decks are doing, and for only 4 mana, it's quite nice. And finally, Root Manipulation, 3 black-green for sorcery. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +2/+2 Menace, and whenever this creature attacks, you gain 1 life. So this can obviously just win you the game on the spot, but if you've got like a bunch of pests, even if you've got like 3 or 4 pests, and you get in there, maybe even fewer, like let's say you've got 2 pests, you get in there for, I don't know, 6 damage of Menace. It's going to be hard for them to block that, and you're going to get 4 life gain triggers off of the pests, because they're going to get this redundant, when this creature attacks you gain 1 life. So if you've got anything that cares about gaining life, which we're going to see much more of, this is going to do a lot for you. So even in a situation where this isn't winning you the game, I think it's going to be pretty darn good. At common, got a real nice 1-2 punch here. We got Bogwater Lumerette, black-green for a 2-2. When this or another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. And Pest Mascot, 1 black-green for a 2-3 trample. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. And I'm led to believe that this works how you want it to. If you've got Bogwater Lumerette in play on turn 2, and you play Pest Mascot on turn 3, the Mascot will trigger the Lumerette, and then you will gain the life, and then get the counter right away. So you'll have a 3-mana 3/4 trample that continues to grow as you play more creatures. It's a really, really nice 1-2 punch at common, and I think this is what's going to make Witherbloom the best deck in the format. We've also got Grapple with Death, 3 mana, destroy a creature, gain a life. Love to see that. So we're all about gaining life here, and some of the best other infusion payoffs here are Thornfist Striker, 3 mana, 3/3, ward 1, and pumps up your team. And Poisoner's Apprentice, pretty interesting one, 3 mana, 2/2, but if you've gained life, then it gives something -4/-4 until end turn when it enters. That's pretty darn powerful, and I think you're going to be able to trigger this quite reliably. Lumerette's Favor is 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+4, but if you've gained life, you get to copy this spell and choose new targets. So if you're just routinely attacking them with a couple of pests and they finally decide to block, and then you like bust this out and kill 2 of their creatures, like that's going to feel real good. I can't wait to do that to somebody. Leech Collector is a nice 2-drop that stays relevant through the game as you get to continually cast Bloodletting to make them lose 2 life. And Follow the Lumerettes can be a 2-mana draw 2 if you have a high creature count deck, which I think you're actually incentivized to do in Witherbloom in particular. Incidental life gain is quite valuable and limited, and here you just want it that much more. So any creature that sort of enters and gains a life or whatever is quite nice. And then Potioner's Trove and Shopkeeper's Bane as ways to repeatedly gain life are going to be quite nice here, and there's a few other cards that do it as well. So just look for any instance of life gain. I think you're going to have a pretty good time with Witherbloom. Finally, we can make our opponents pay for blocking our pesky little pest tokens. Cards like Rabid Attack that give creatures +1/+0. When they die, you draw a card. And Arnon Deathbloom Botanist, 3 mana, 2/2 Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with power toughness 1 or less dies, you drain the opponent for 2. That'll make them never want to block your pests. So look for ways to actually leverage the pest tokens that you're making. Our final deck is Quandrix Ramp, blue-green. The mechanic is Increment. Creatures gain +1/+1 counters when you cast a spell with mana value greater than their power or toughness. So Cuboid Colony, which we already looked at here, 2 mana, 1/1, Flash, Flying, Trample, Increment. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana you spent is greater than this creature's power or toughness, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. There's a few of these that just sort of grow over the course of the game. Paradox Surveyor, 3 mana, 3/3 reach. Look at the top 5, take a land or an X spell. Proctor's Gaze, this is a cool one. 2 green-blue for an instant. Return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, and then shuffle. Quandrix Charm, which we already looked at, 2 mana, counter something unless they pay 2, destroy an enchantment or make a creature a 5/5. Fractal Tender, 3 green-blue for a 3/3 ward 2 with Increment. At the beginning of each end step, if you put a counter on this creature, create a 0/0 fractal and put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So a little bit slow, a little bit clunky, but if you can get it going, it's quite powerful. At common, we've got Embrace the Paradox, 3 green-blue for an instant, draw 3 and put a land into play tapped. Very, very nice. Fractal Mascot is 4 green-blue for a 6/6 trample. When it enters, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. And Terra Fractal, X green-blue for a 1/0 flying, enters with X, 1/1 counters on it, and gives you 2 life to boot. So right here at common, we've got all the payoffs we would ever need for ramping, and that's what we want to do in Quandrix. I would, however, avoid the spells Growth Curve and Tam Observant Sequencer. Growth Curve is just not really worth it for 2 mana most of the time, and if it's doing its thing, you're probably winning anyways. And Tam just seems very clunky. She does not enter prepared. Her spell costs 2 mana, and like 4 mana, 4/3, when landfall, gain a life, draw a card, like already wasn't that good. And sets kind of recent history. So I would actually avoid both of these cards. Another nice increment payoff here is Tester of the Tangential. This is 2 mana for a 1/1 with increment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can move its counters to something else. So you get a steady stream of counters going with this guy. And then, other than that, we just want to ramp out as many lands as we can and cast really big spells. Environmental Scientist and Studious First Year being kind of the best ways to do that. And of course, you want to draw cards when you're ramping. So stuff like Landscape Painter, which has a prepared spell of drawing 2 cards for 5 mana. Homesickness, 6 mana, draw 2, stun 2 creatures. And Orisa, the Tide Choreographer, 5 mana, 2/2, draw 2. These are all really nice spells to be casting with all the mana to draw even more spells. Blue-green is also going to be your base color pair, most likely, if you are trying to do the Converge thing. So Converge, again, is spending different colors of mana to make a spell more powerful. So Snarl Song makes 2 XX creatures, and you gain X life for however many colors you put in there. You want at least 4, I would say. 5 is, of course, like the best you can possibly do. So make sure that you've got access to 4 colors if you're going to go down the Converge road. Transcendic Archaic is 7 mana, 6/6 Vigilance. You draw X cards for Converge and then discard 2. And Sundering Archaic is a 6 mana, 3/3. And you get to exile a permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to the amount of colors. So it can get a 3 or a 4 drop most of the time. These are the real payoffs for doing this, with the exception of rares, of course. And that leads us into the fixing. And there's a lot of it in this set. It's quite plentiful. There's a cycle of 5 tapped dual lands for the 5 different color pairs that we just looked at. They all look like Spectacle Summit here. They enter tapped, tap for one of the 2 colors, and then you could pay 2, and the 2 colors, tap it and surveil 1. Well, and these are going to be in the land slot in the pack, which I think about half the time you're going to see one of these in a pack. And then Terramorphic Expanse is just out there as a regular common. This is a land you tap, sacrifice it, search your library for basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped. It's a nice one because it helps fuel your graveyard stuff as well. Of course, fixes for any color. So this is going to be like, a card that you just take out of the pack if there's nothing really interesting for you there. And then we've got some other fixing cards that look pretty decent as well. Potioner's Trove, 3 mana artifact, taps to add a mana of any color, or you can tap it to gain 2 life if you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. It's like a nice piece of fixing for you, and the life gain is going to matter a good amount of the time, I think. So you're either going to be trying to stay alive and cast your big spells, or you're going to be triggering your Witherbloom stuff. So I like this one. Strixhaven Sky Coach, 3 mana, 3/2 flying vehicle. When it enters, you search for a basic land and put it into your hand. Crew 2, and Shared Roots on the bonus sheet. Decent one. 1 a green. Search your library for a basic land, put it in tapped. Okay. Actually, before we go here, so of course, all this fixing means that it'll be fairly doable to splash a 3rd color in most of your 2-color decks. So definitely look out for that. Make sure you prioritize fixing so that you pick up a rare that touches your colors or what have you. So if you're playing like blue-red, for example, you'll be willing to splash some green cards most likely because Quandrix and Prismari look like they're going to play pretty well together. Way too early predictions for the win rates of the different Strixhaven archetypes here. Number 1 is black-green Witherbloom Life Gain. It's got the strongest group of multicolor commons, commons in particular, not just uncommons, but the commons. That 1/2 punch of the 2-drop into the 3-drop is really, really good. And it's paying you off for incidental life gain, which is already really good and limited. So you don't really have to do anything too special to have a good deck here. In number 2, blue-red Prismari spells. It's got 2 of maybe the best uncommons, certainly removal-wise. The 5 mana deal 5, take a card off the top of your library, and the 2 mana deal 3, tap a creature. Those are really premium. And the theme seems really heavily supported, so I like blue-red. White-black Silverquill Aggro in number 3 spot here. It's got lots of support, and it should run over the slower decks, but it's going to struggle against the life gain of Witherbloom, so that's why I've got it down in number 3. Number 4, blue-green Quandrix Ramp / Converge. Has a couple of busts at uncommon. TAM and Growth Curve that we looked at are just not really that playable, I don't think. Looks a little clunky overall, but it does have some really powerful stuff as well. This one, you might need rares to really make it as best as it can be. And then in 5th, we've got White-Red Lorehold Graveyard stuff. Just looks a little bit finicky, a little tough to get it going. There's a lot of sort of pieces that have to fall into place, but it does seem more powerful than it was the last time around in Strixhaven. And I'm going to be willing to try all 5 of these decks. I don't think that, even though I'm saying that White-Red is the worst, you know, I don't know that for sure. Of course, it's just a guess, but I still think that the win rates should be pretty close overall. So please do not take this as, you know, advice to avoid or whatever any particular deck. You should definitely just be following the signals in the draft, which is, of course, what we're going to look at right now. Our draft strategy. In pack 1, we're going to stay close to one color if possible. It's going to be harder to do in this set, but if possible, one color. A few off-color cards are okay, and we're going to prioritize cheaper cards where we can. The better our early picks are, the more we're going to want to stick to that color that we're in. The worse our early picks are, the more we're going to be willing to take chances on other colors. Picks sort of 1 through 3, we're going to be taking the best card we see. Picks 4 through 8, we're going to continue to take the best cards we see, and we may be in multiple colors, that's okay, but we're going to start to form a picture of what colors are being passed to us. This is known as reading signals. So if we see a few solid white cards in picks 4 through 8, there's a good chance the players to our right are not drafting white, which means white is open. And this means we can reasonably expect to see good white cards in pack 3 as well, as those same players will be passing to us again. And we may see a late signpost uncommon or common indicating its color may be available. Picks 9 through 14 is known as the wheel. These are the cards no one at the table wanted the first go around. They've come all the way around back to you. If we are seeing several playable cards of one color pair, it's possible that no one else at the table is drafting that color pair. And we should strongly consider moving in, because as we said it earlier on, a lot of the power in this set is in the multicolor cards. So if you're seeing a ton of red-white at the end of pack 1, even though I don't think it's necessarily going to be the top performing deck, you want to jump in on that, because you're going to be seeing that all draft long, and you're going to get the pick of the litter. Packs 2 and 3, we're going to continue to take the powerful cards of our main color where possible. We're going to let the good cards we open or get past determine our secondary color and final archetype, and pay special attention to the pack direction. The packs are moving in the opposite direction during pack 2, so sometimes you'll be seeing a lot of good black cards in pack 1, and then in pack 2 all of a sudden you're seeing none. Well, that's because it's going the other way. But in pack 3, it'll be going the same direction as pack 1 was, so you will see those same signals again. So do not panic in pack 2. Now, this set has done a pretty good job of making the monocolored cards fit into either of their archetypes, but do beware that some cards are sort of, you know, specially designed for a specific deck. So Arnon Deathbloom Botanist really only goes in Witherbloom. Lecturing Scorn Mage really only goes in Silverquill. So please don't mix these up, or your deck will not work very well. Deck building tips. Play 2 colors. Avoid splashing a 3rd color unless your deck is specifically designed to do so, which means you have the dual lands that are tapping for that color, or you have Terramorphic Expanse, or if you're in green-blue or a green deck, you've got ways to search out lands or whatever. Make sure you have those means to actually splash. Otherwise, don't do it. Play 17 lands. A deck with no cards that cost more than 4 mana can play 16 lands. I would say you're actually more likely to play 18 in this format than 16, because there seems to be a lot of stuff to do with your mana late in the game. So please try to keep it to 17 lands at a minimum. And play a low curve. Lots of cheap cards, fewer expensive cards. Most decks want 6 or more 2-mana value creatures, around 4 3-mana value creatures, some 4-mana value creatures, and very few cards that cost 5 or more. And with Prepared, some of your creatures are going to give you 5-cost spells and higher. So you really do not need to prioritize the super expensive spells in this format. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please click like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you're looking forward to drafting in this format. What's your favorite college? Did you draft Strixhaven last time around? Are you excited to see it back? What do you think is going to be the best deck? Let me know. And you can always reach me directly at howtodraftmtg@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck in your drafts. Bye for now.